All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, Brooklyn Nets guard Kyrie Irving has a player option for next season that will pay him close to $37 million. Now, there are rumors that Irving could opt out of this deal this summer in a bid to get a long term extension. However, the Nets appear that they are ready to pump the brakes on committing to Irving long term. Now, according to published reports, the Nets are unwilling to commit to Irving on a long term deal. And honestly, you cannot blame them as you never know what you're going to get from the enigmatic star guard. Now, Irving only appeared in 29 regular season games this past season for the Nets, partially due to New York City's vaccine mandate as well as personal issues. Now, even if you omit this past season and everything that came with it, it's a situation that sometimes Kyrie wants to play and sometimes he doesn't, and this goes all the way back to his collegiate time at Duke. I mean, if you remember, Kyrie, in his 1 year at Duke, he played the first couple of games of the season, sat out with an injury, came back for the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament in order basically to show what he could do. And subsequently, it led to him being the first overall pick in the NBA draft that year. You think back to Kyrie's time with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, and of course, now with the Brooklyn Nets, there's always an issue somewhere, with him. And honestly, I think it's at the point for his career that it's catching up to him in more ways than one. For me, don't put me in the category of feeling sorry for the Nets in this scenario because I feel that the Nets and Kyrie deserve each other because what the Nets allowed to happen is they allowed this team to be run by divas in both Kyrie and Kevin Durant. And now the Nets want to put their foot down on things. And plain and simple, it's too little, too late. I mean, again, Kyrie made the comment a while back that this team didn't need a head coach. And guess what? In the postseason, you saw that this team definitely needed a head coach. And obviously, they lacked timing and chemistry, being that he missed so much time during this regular season, as did Kevin Durant. But Kevin Durant's case was a little bit different due to injury. But make no mistake about it, the Nets are not, and I say not and never, going to win an NBA championship with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a star player, and I think for like I've said it before, and I'm sure I'm not the only person to say this, but it was KD's ego that got him out of Golden State because he was probably never going to see, and he's not going to see another scenario where he's going to have the ability to win like he did in the Bay Area. And then on the flip side for Kyrie wanted to get from under the shadow of LeBron James when he was in Cleveland, but Kyrie is another one. Kyrie's never going to have another scenario like he had in Cleveland playing alongside LeBron as far as being able to win. So I look at it right now. This team, the Nets, as a Nets, they have not learned from when they tried to do this about 10 years ago by bringing in KG and Paul Pierce to try to help them get over the top. And of course, we remember what happened there. And like I've said before, 3 years we've had of this. And of course, KD did not play his first year with the Nets as he was recovering from an injury. But nonetheless, you have a scenario where 3 years and only one postseason series victory. For me, I look at the Nets. You might as well, trade Kyrie if you can do a sign and trade, and if there's somebody out there that's willing to give him a long term deal, so be it, because you're not going to win with this. And I know that they still have Kevin Durant. They're committed to Kevin Durant. Let's see how Kevin Durant would react if Kyrie Irving is not there next season. We'll have to wait and see. But the bottom line is, you're not going to win with these guys. And the Nets as an organization don't learn that. They have not learned that. I mean, look at the failed James Harden experiment for the Nets and see what it got them. And I don't care what anybody says. I'll go to the bank on this one. I'll say the Ben Simmons experiment, we haven't seen it so far, quote unquote, But obviously, the Nets could have used his services in the postseason. But nonetheless, that is setting up to be a failed experiment for the Brooklyn Nets as well. And I'll ask anybody out there, excuse me, if you were running an NBA franchise, would you give Kyrie Irving a long-term deal based on his past track record? I mean, obviously, that regardless of how you feel about it, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. But me personally, I would not. Right now, you're looking at Irving. He's 30 years of age. And for me, at the rate that he is going, he's going to be somebody that will soon be out of the NBA, not because he can no longer play and contribute. It's going to come down to the matter of the headache. Having to deal with him is not going to be worth it. And at some point, you can put up with that and tolerate it as a front office a little bit more when a player is in his 20s, and especially when it's like his early to mid 20s. But once a guy gets on the other side of 30, teams tend to be a little less, open to that. So let's see what happens if Kyrie falls into that category. The bottom line is Sean Marks, the Nets general manager, and the rest of this Nets front office have finally realized, hey, Kyrie is somebody that they cannot trust and they cannot depend on. And you cannot give a long-term deal to somebody who you cannot rely on. That's all across the board in any sport. Now, will somebody in the NBA give Kyrie big money? Maybe there's a possibility. There's always a team out there, I feel, that can say, hey, you know what? We can rehab this player as long as we get him in our building along with our structure, we can get the best out of this guy. So it's going to be interesting to see, but nonetheless, I would not hold my breath on it. But the bottom line is for the Brooklyn Nets going forward, I don't see any scenario where they can say we want to win a championship and have Kyrie Irving on the team with a long term deal. So let's see what happens this summer. I think this is could be an interesting standoff between both sides. And if Kyrie does make the mistake of opting out, in my opinion, it's going to be interesting to see if any team would be willing to commit to him long term. He's already been with the Celtics. He's already been with the Cavs. And if he exits from the Nets, that's 3 down, 27 to go. But what other team would be willing to commit to Kyrie? And more importantly, what team would Kyrie be willing to commit to? So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.